Fam, you know I'm a Uighurs man, right? Did I ever tell you that before?
But the Uighurs, fam. So guys, this is really dangerous because this is also very hypocritical. Okay, so the U.S. Senate actually passed this bipartisan bill. This bill was led by Jeff Merkley and also Marco Rubio, bipartisan. They were working together, two senators working together on a bill banning all products from Xinjiang based on this whole thing about saving the Uyghurs, right? So this is from July 14th, Reuters. The U.S. Senate passed legislation to ban imports of products from China's Xinjiang region. This is an effort to punish Beijing for what U.S. officials say is an ongoing genocide against the Uyghurs and other Muslim groups. Since when has the United States, by the way, cared about Muslim genocide? I mean, if I recall, it was our fault that 2 million plus Iraqis died, but okay. The Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, that's what it's called, is going to create a rebutable presumption assuming goods manufactured in Xinjiang are made with forced labor and therefore banned under the 1930 Tariff Act unless otherwise certified by U.S. authorities. This was passed unanimously. No surprise there. This measure would shift the burden of proof to importers. The current rule bans goods if there is reasonable evidence of forced labor. Since when has the United States cared about forced labor? So Marco Rubio, who, like I said, introduced this legislation with Democrat Jeff Merkley, is telling the House that they need to pass this extremely quickly. The House is actually likely to pass this, by the way. They said, we will not, this is from Marco Rubio, we will not turn a blind eye to the CCP's ongoing crimes against humanity, and we will not allow corporations a free pass to profit from those horrific abuses, Rubio said in a statement. And both of the Democratic and Republican aides said that this would likely pass the House, get strong support, and they had approved a similar measure last year. This is why they think it will pass. And this is going to go beyond the steps to already secure the U.S. supply chain in the face of allegations of abuses in China. And this already includes existing bans on Xinjiang tomatoes, cotton, and solar products. And Biden administration, in case you guys missed it, has increased sanctions and issued an advisory warning on businesses, telling them they could be in violation of U.S. laws if their operations are linked, even indirectly, to surveillance networks in Xinjiang. So what do you think about this, Sam?
Well, how hypocritical can we be, right? Like, we're going to sit over here and say, you know, oh, they're using slave labor. Meanwhile, they passed NAFTA, so they didn't have to pay Americans a decent salary to increase and strengthen the workforce here. Instead, they take care of slave wages over in, you know, China in the beginning. Now it's moved to Vietnam, Laos, those sort of things. American interest doesn't care, and neither does the Congress. Let's be honest. They're so hypocritical when they say this stuff. And also the fact that they're talking about, okay, the Uyghurs are oppressed, and this is terrible and stuff. America has the biggest prison population per capita per citizen than any other country in the world. In fact, we have over 2 million people imprisoned here in the United States, almost 20% of the prison population right here in the United States. And what do we use them for? We use them for cheap labor. Even our vice president admitted that she held people in jail longer because she wanted to have them fight the fires for $2 an hour. So I mean,
still doing that.
So hypocritical, and they are still doing that. Yeah. So this is as hypocritical as it comes right now, and also too with very little proof. You know, we saw the BBC network's information going to Xinjiang, looking at these camps, they called them. They look more like schools and stuff, which really went to the heart of the problem that was created in the first place. Operation Mongoose in Xinjiang, when the CIA used Xinjiang as a toilet bowl and used their citizens and funded the worst jihadists in the Mujahideen and people in Xinjiang to smuggle these weapons, the Stinger missiles, in from China to Afghanistan. So not only do we create the problem, we're not addressing it, just like what with Cuba, fam. Once again, we created the problem, we're not addressing it. We're now doubling down and trying to sell this false bill of goods to people across the country, both Democrats and Republican. And it's, quite frankly, it's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, and you said it right there. Just like in Cuba, look at the language that Marco Rubio is using in terms of the Uyghurs. It's the same type of language he's using in terms of Cuba. Again, it is worth noting, this is when neocons and Democrats who consider themselves neoliberals but are ultimately agree on policy. It's when it comes to imperialism, when it comes to sanctions, when it comes to this type of behavior. They're trying to punish China, right? Beijing. And this is only going to hurt Xinjiang's economy. It's only going to completely destroy it, basically. And if they cared about the Uyghurs, they wouldn't be destroying their source of income. This is going to destroy any sort of jobs that that population has. So this isn't about the Uyghurs. This is about exerting control and trying to make Beijing pretty much comply with what the United States wants. This is that whole anti-China sentiment that I always tell people on the right to stop with it, because this is partly what continues this whole imperialist mindset of regime change. And of course, we have seen, multiple allegations that what's happening with the Uyghurs is the way the Western media frames it is only one part of the story. It's not the complete story. We've had multiple people on this show who are from the region to talk about, China and talk about the intricacies of really the propaganda around the Uyghurs. You can criticize China independently to be, different than what we are, but to call China authoritarian in the same vein while not criticizing the United States as to the authoritarianism we're exerting upon our own citizens right now is hypocritical, absolutely hypocritical. And we know this is not about the Uyghurs. We have never cared about Muslim lives. The government has never given a damn about killing innocent civilians abroad. They don't care about Palestinians. They don't care about people in Yemen. But if they stand to profit, they will turn it into a humanitarian crisis that they can exploit and get, a huge portion of the left, which attacks us as tankies for simply saying, hey, by the way, what these people are saying isn't valid. This whole Uyghur genocide thing is not what it seems. And so it's interesting. Now you have some people on the left agreeing with the same talking points from the neocons in the liberal and the conservative side. So that's how you know you're on the wrong side of things. You're agreeing with fucking Marco Rubio and freaking establishment Democrats like Joe Biden, who said from the beginning, he told us, I will send more ships to the South China Sea. So
and I think people always question that narrative. They say, okay, is this the Democrats pandering to the conservative base and stuff? The votes they think they could get by showing they're tough on China and stuff, where they have supposedly all these connections of like, oh, there's financial ties to China, whatnot. I'm quite frankly just sick of hearing about the whole situation when it comes to election integrities and people trying to tie it to China and stuff like that. So, I mean, the pandering is beyond belief and stuff. It doesn't make a difference, Republican or Democrat, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to imperialism, they are united. The CIA and the military industrial complex, they get their narrative out. It's repeated by the mainstream media, all the way down to right now. You got people like, Vosh going on other shows like Kyle and Crystal and Friends and stuff like that. Why are they giving these guys a platform when Vosh has been like anti-Assad, like justifying what's going on with Syria? He's like, oh, I did a report on Xinjiang and I can do it. But he's not going to have anybody credible come and debate him on these situations. You know what I'm saying? So it is kind of weird too. Also, can we just get to cleaning our own house? Why do we have to always get our nose on what's going on everywhere else when we have a shit problem over here at home? I think we pointed out earlier in this segment that United States has the biggest prison population in the world per capita per person. You know what I'm saying? But that's what the Congress and the military industrial complex are trying to do. They're trying to frame this Uyghur situation as like they have over 1 million people in concentration camps, and saying to justify what goes on in the United States here with our prison industrial complex and whatnot. We need to look inward. We need to clean our own shelf, right? We need to clean our own house before we start projecting out to anybody else. And I'm not buying it, and I hope a lot of people don't either.
And just to point that out, you said, we have the prison industrial complex. That also includes the immigrants that we still have locked up in these detention centers. And that, could be compared to concentration camps. They had no protections against COVID, nothing. People are dying. There was mass hysterectomies performed. Like those are crimes against humanity. I mean, Alberto Fujimori is currently serving prison time for the mass hysterectomies he pushed on Native American women, and the United States is doing that right now in 2020. They were doing it in 2020 onto this year. And you're telling me that the Uyghurs and China, like, it's like, look over there so you don't look over here. Again, once you start realizing how evil the empire is, and I don't mean the American people, I mean the military industrial complex and the state agencies that are actually in control. Because believe it or not, Joe Biden, neither Trump nor most of the presidents have really had much of a say in what happens. And anybody that tries to oppose the national security state apparatus is assassinated or completely just smeared to no end. So yeah, that's that section.